Hey, deep divers. Looks like you're all set to explore some pretty thought-provoking territory with this research on Islamic ethics and AI. I'm excited to jump into this with you.
Yeah, it's a hot topic these days. And this paper,
It really is.
Islamic Ethics and AI, an evaluation of existing approaches to AI using trusteeship ethics. It really gets to the heart of the matter.
So let's unpack it, see what it's all about, explore what it proposes, what it critiques, and most importantly, what it could mean for the future of AI, especially for you.
Sounds good. I think it would be helpful to start by taking a look at the current state of AI ethics. As the paper points out, Western paradigms have been pretty dominant in this field.
And I'm guessing that's where the problem lies.
Well,
The paper does mention the Stanford AI Index report, which documents a lot of AI incidents and controversies, including some pretty disturbing instances of bias.
you're right. Relying solely on Western ethical framework isn't enough.
Yeah.
Even frameworks like Luciano Floridi's information ethics, which focus on transparency and accountability,
Right.
they often lack the cultural and metaphysical grounding that many global traditions like Islam offer.
Okay, so there's a need for more diverse perspectives in AI ethics. That makes a lot of sense, especially when you consider the global reach of AI.
Exactly. We're already seeing these different ethical approaches playing out in the real world.
Yeah.
You have developments like the
Oh,
world's first AI fatwa service in Dubai,
wow.
and Saudi Arabia granting robotic citizen status to Sophia.
But then there are also concerns about surveillance and human rights, especially in places like Neom.
Yeah,
It seems like AI is this rapidly evolving space with a ton of potential benefits, but also some serious ethical challenges.
absolutely. And that's where this paper's exploration of Islamic ethics gets really interesting.
Okay.
The author argues that purely secular perspectives on AI often miss crucial aspects of the conversation.
Can you elaborate on that a bit more? What kind of crucial aspects are we talking about?
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
Many secular approaches focus on the technical aspects of AI and how to make it work safely and efficiently.
Okay.
But they often overlook the deeper questions about the purpose of AI, its impact on human values, and our responsibility for the technologies we create.
Yeah.
It's like building a powerful engine without considering where the car is going or who's driving.
Okay, that makes sense. So how does the paper address this gap? Is there an alternative framework that it proposes?
Yes, it introduces Taha Abdurrahman's Itimani framework, which is rooted in the Islamic concept of amana.
Okay.
It's all about viewing ourselves as trustees of God's creation,
Okay.
which includes knowledge and technology.
Okay. Trusteeship. I like that.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
implies a sense of responsibility and accountability, right?
Right.
But how does this translate into a practical framework for AI ethics? It still sounds a bit abstract.
Well, the Itimani framework is built on three foundational covenants:
Okay.
ontological, epistemological, and existential. Think of them as three lenses through which we can view the ethical challenges of AI.
3 covenants. Okay, I'm intrigued. But I have to admit, those terms sound pretty academic.
Sure.
Could you break them down for us in a way that's a bit more approachable?
Of course, the ontological covenant
Okay.
emphasizes recognizing divine sovereignty.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that AI development shouldn't be solely driven by human desires or ambitions, but should align with a higher moral purpose.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that we're not the ultimate arbiters of what's right and wrong when it comes to AI.
So it's about humility
Yes,
and recognizing that there's something bigger than ourselves at play.
exactly. Now, the epistemological covenant focuses on the ethical pursuit and application of knowledge.
Okay.
It highlights the importance of things like data handling, algorithmic transparency,
Okay.
and the very nature of the knowledge that AI systems acquire and use.
That makes sense. After all, AI is all about knowledge, right?
Right.
It's about using data to create systems that can learn and make decisions. So we need to ensure that this pursuit of knowledge is guided by ethical principles.
Right. And the third covenant, the existential one, focuses on our role as stewards of creation.
Okay.
It emphasizes that AI development needs to prioritize things like sustainability, social equity, and harmony with the environment.
It sounds like these 3 covenants really cover a lot of ground.
They do.
But I'm curious, why are these specific covenants so crucial? What unique perspective do they offer in the context of AI ethics?
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
AI is changing how we understand ourselves, our knowledge, and our place in the world. These covenants address each of these dimensions.
Right.
The ontological covenant ensures that AI development aligns with a higher moral purpose.
Okay.
The Epistemological covenant emphasizes the ethical pursuit of knowledge.
Got it.
And the Existential covenant prioritizes our responsibility as stewards of creation.
So it's not just about making sure AI is safe and efficient. It's about ensuring that AI is developed and used in a way that benefits humanity and the world around us.
Exactly. It's about considering the long-term consequences of AI.
Yeah.
And making sure that it contributes to a more just and sustainable future.
Right.
And this is where the Itimani framework offers a really compelling alternative to purely secular approaches to AI ethics.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. But the paper doesn't just present the Itimani framework in isolation, does it? It also critiques some other approaches to Islamic ethics and AI, right?
You're right. It engages with other frameworks, highlighting both their strengths and limitations.
Well, okay.
For example, it critiques Maqasid al-Shariah,
okay,
which is a legal theory that evaluates actions based on their intended outcomes and how well they align with the 5 core objectives of Shariah.
So is the paper saying that Maqasid al-Shariah is completely irrelevant to AI ethics?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It acknowledges that Maqasid al-Shariah has its strengths.
Okay.
It centers human life and provides guidelines for public welfare, which are certainly relevant to AI.
Right.
But the paper also points out some serious limitations when it comes to the complex and constantly evolving world of AI.
Can you give us an example of those limitations?
Sure. Imagine AI-driven financial systems that end up enabling exploitative practices, even if they're technically aiming for economic growth.
Oh, wow.
Or AI surveillance in education that violates privacy, even if it supposedly leads to better outcomes.
Yeah.
These scenarios highlight the potential disconnect between legalistic outcomes and the ethical complexities we face with AI.
Right, because AI can be used in so many different ways, and the ethical implications can be really nuanced. It's not always as simple as applying a set of rules or guidelines.
Exactly. And the paper argues that Maqasid al-Shariah, as a legal theory designed for jurisprudence, might not be the best fit for the nuanced ethical landscape of AI.
Interesting. So what about other ethical frameworks? Does the paper critique any others?
It does. It also takes a look at Floridi's information ethics, which is a well-known secular framework for AI ethics.
Information ethics. That rings a bell. Can you give us a quick refresher on what that is?
Sure. Information ethics basically expands ethical consideration to all informational entities within the infosphere.
Okay.
So it's not just about humans. It's about considering the ethical implications of AI on data, information systems, and even the environment.
Okay. That sounds pretty comprehensive.
It is.
But I'm guessing the paper has some critiques of this framework too, right?
It does. One of the main critiques is the potential clash between information ethics, emphasis on individual autonomy, and cultural contexts that prioritize collective well-being.
Oh, interesting.
This is particularly relevant when we think about the global reach of AI and the need for ethical frameworks that respect cultural differences.
Couldn't you argue, though, that emphasizing individual autonomy is crucial in preventing AI from being used to control or manipulate people, especially in those very cultural contexts where collective well-being might be used as a justification for suppressing individual rights?
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
And it highlights the complexities of trying to create a universal ethical framework for AI.
Right.
What's considered ethical in one culture might not be in another.
Yeah.
And even within a single culture.
Yeah.
There can be different perspectives on what's right and wrong when it comes to AI.
So it seems like there's no easy answer here.
Right.
But at least this paper is pushing us to think critically about these different approaches and consider their strengths and limitations.
Exactly. And that's what makes this research so valuable.
Yeah.
It's not just presenting a single solution. It's encouraging us to engage in a deeper conversation.
Right.
About the ethical challenges of AI and explore different perspectives on how to address them.
Well, we've certainly had a deep dive into the theoretical side of things, but I'm also curious about how these frameworks translate into real-world action. How can we actually apply these principles to the development and use of AI?
That's a great question. And that's what we'll be exploring next. We'll take a look at how the Itimani framework can move from abstract principles to real-world applications in AI development.
Okay.
Get ready for some fascinating insights.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground exploring different ethical frameworks for AI and how the Itimani framework fits into that landscape. Now I'm really curious to see how all of this theory translates into actual practice.
That's where things get really exciting. Section 4 of the paper digs into the practical implications of the Itimani framework and how it can be applied to specific AI scenarios.
Perfect, because it's one thing to talk about these high-level principles, but I want to see how they actually play out in the real world. How does the paper bridge this gap between theory and practice?
Well, it visualizes the framework as a pyramid.
Okay.
With those three covenants, we discussed ontological, epistemological, and existential forming the foundation. These covenants then lead to practical guidelines for various AI applications.
I'm picturing this ethical pyramid in my mind. What kind of AI applications are we talking about here? Give me some examples.
The paper specifically mentions healthcare,
okay,
finance,
okay,
surveillance. Each of these sectors presents some really unique ethical challenges that the Itimani framework can help us navigate.
Let's start with healthcare. How could the Itimani framework guide the development and use of AI in that field?
Think about AI-powered diagnostic tools or personalized treatment plans.
Okay.
The Itimani framework would push us to ensure these technologies are not only accurate and efficient,
right,
but also prioritize patient well-being, respect their autonomy, and address potential biases in algorithms. It's about ensuring that AI in healthcare upholds the dignity and sanctity of human life.
So it's not just about using AI to improve healthcare outcomes.
Right.
It's about making sure that AI is used in a way that aligns with our values and respects human dignity.
Precisely. Technology should always serve humanity, not the other way around.
Okay, that makes sense. What about finance? That's another area where AI is already having a huge impact.
Absolutely. And this is where the Itimani framework's emphasis on justice and fairness is particularly relevant.
Okay.
Think about things like algorithmic trading, credit scoring, or even development of new financial products.
Right.
The framework would guide us to ensure that these systems are transparent, accountable, and don't perpetuate existing inequalities.
It's almost like using AI to create a more ethical and equitable financial system.
Yeah.
One that doesn't just benefit the privileged few.
Exactly. It's about using AI to level the playing field and create opportunities for everyone.
Now, surveillance is a really tricky area when it comes to AI ethics.
It is.
There's so much potential for misuse and the infringement of privacy. The paper even mentions concerns around NIAM and its use of AI for surveillance. So how does the Itimani framework address those concerns?
Well, it all comes back to those principles of accountability and stewardship that are at the core of the framework. It would require any use of AI for surveillance to be justified, proportionate, and subject to rigorous oversight. It's about ensuring that these technologies are used to protect, not control.
Right.
And that individual rights are always respected.
I can see how that would apply to things like security cameras and facial recognition technology.
Right.
But what about more subtle forms of surveillance, like data collection and targeted advertising? Does the Itimani framework address those too?
Absolutely. The Itimani framework emphasizes transparency and the ethical handling of data.
Okay.
So even in those less obvious forms of surveillance, we would need to make sure that people are aware of how their data is being used and that their privacy is respected.
It sounds like the Itimani framework offers a pretty comprehensive approach to navigating the ethical complexities of AI in surveillance.
It certainly does. And remember, the paper only touches on a few specific applications.
Yeah.
There's so many other areas like warfare, education, and transportation where the Itimani framework could be applied. It's a framework that can really guide us in thinking about the ethical implications of AI across a wide range of fields.
Okay, so we've talked about AI applications. What about the broader context of regulations and ethical threats? How does the Itimani framework address those aspects?
The paper introduces a fascinating concept called Sadd al-Dhara'i.
Okay.
It's an Islamic legal principle that essentially means blocking harmful means.
Blocking harmful means, I like that. So it's not just about reacting to ethical violations after the fact, but being proactive and preventing harm before it occurs.
Exactly. And the paper explains how Sadd al-Dhara'i can actually augment the Itimani framework, adding another layer of ethical protection.
Okay, I'm really intrigued by this concept. Give me some concrete examples of how this principle of Sadd al-Dhara'i could be applied to AI.
Sure. Think about manipulative algorithms that are designed to exploit vulnerable populations or spread misinformation. Sadd al-Dhara'i, in conjunction with the Itimani framework, would call for prohibiting the development and use of such algorithms. It's about recognizing the potential for harm and taking steps to prevent it before it happens.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like building ethical guardrails into the very fabric of AI development. What are some other examples?
Another example is algorithmic bias. which we know is a huge problem in AI systems used for things like credit scoring or law enforcement.
Right.
Saad al-Darai would emphasize the need for ensuring fairness and preventing discrimination from the outset.
Okay.
It's not enough to just say, oops, we didn't mean for our algorithm to be biased.
Right.
It's about proactively designing systems that are just and equitable from the ground up.
It's like baking ethics into the code. I like it. And what about issues like privacy and sustainability? Does Saad al-Darai offer any guidance on those fronts?
Absolutely. When it comes to privacy, Saad al-Darai would guide us to safeguard personal data and prevent its misuse by AI systems.
Okay.
It's about respecting that fundamental right to privacy and ensuring that AI doesn't erode that right.
And sustainability.
The paper also applies Saad al-Darai to the challenge of sustainability.
Okay.
Emphasizing the need for developing AI in a way that minimizes environmental impact and promotes responsible resource management.
Because technological progress shouldn't come at the cost of our planet's health.
Exactly. So you can see how this principle of Saad al-Darai adds a proactive dimension to the Itimani framework.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about adhering to ethical guidelines.
Right.
It's about anticipating potential harms and taking steps to prevent them from occurring.
It's like a preemptive ethical strike.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so we've talked about AI applications, regulations, and this concept of blocking harmful means. But I think it's important to acknowledge that building ethical AI isn't just about rules and regulations. It's also about fostering a culture of ethical awareness and responsibility. Does the paper address this aspect of the issue?
You are absolutely right. It's about more than just technical solutions. It's about fostering a mindset of ethical responsibility throughout the entire AI ecosystem.
Okay.
The paper emphasizes the need for building ethical AI communities that prioritize inclusivity, collaboration, and ongoing dialogue.
Okay, so paint me a picture of what an ethical AI community might look like. What would that involve?
Well, imagine interdisciplinary forums
Yep.
where Islamic scholars, ethicists, technologists, and policymakers come together to discuss the ethical challenges of AI and brainstorm solutions.
Mm-hmm.
These forums could be a place for fostering shared understanding and bridging the gap between different perspectives.
It's like a melting pot of ideas and expertise, all focused on making sure that AI is developed and used ethically.
Exactly. And the paper also suggests establishing regional research hubs that can explore AI applications tailored to specific cultural contexts.
Mm-hmm.
It's about ensuring that the Antamani framework is not just an abstract concept, but can be adapted and applied to real-world challenges in diverse settings.
So it's about taking those core principles of the framework and making them relevant and applicable to different communities around the world.
Precisely. And education is crucial as well. The paper highlights the importance of integrating the Itimani framework into AI education curricula.
Okay.
This means equipping future generations of AI developers and researchers with the ethical tools they need to navigate this complex landscape.
It's like planting those ethical seeds early on.
Yes.
And ensuring that ethical considerations are baked into the very process of AI education.
You got it. And it's not just about educating the experts.
Yeah.
It's also about raising public awareness.
Mm.
The paper suggests launching public awareness campaigns that use culturally resonant narratives to explain AI ethics and engage communities in the conversation.
Right, because AI is going to impact all of us, not just the people building it. It's crucial to have an informed public that can participate in shaping the ethical landscape of AI.
Absolutely. And empowering marginalized populations is another crucial aspect of building ethical AI communities.
Right.
The paper stresses the need to incorporate their perspectives, ensure that AI technologies address their needs, and protect their rights.
It's about making sure that AI doesn't exacerbate existing inequalities, but rather contributes to creating a more just and equitable society for everyone.
Precisely. And finally, the paper suggests promoting the development of open-source AI tools based on ethical principles.
Okay.
This would make ethical AI technology accessible to a wider range of communities and individuals,
Right.
empowering them to participate in the development and governance of AI.
It's like democratizing access to ethical AI and giving more people a voice in shaping its future.
Exactly. So building ethical AI communities is about creating spaces for dialogue, collaboration, and education. It's about ensuring that diverse voices are heard, ethical considerations are embedded in AI development from the outset, and the benefits of AI are shared equitably across society.
This is all really inspiring stuff, but it also begs the question, who's going to make all of this happen? Who's responsible for ensuring that AI is developed and used ethically?
That's a great question, and it leads us to a fascinating part of the paper where the authors engage with Luciano Floridi's perspective on the role of AI ethicists. Remember Floridi?
Yeah.
The guy behind information ethics?
Yeah, he's like the rock star of AI ethics.
Yeah.
So what does he have to say about the folks on the front lines of ethical AI?
Well, Floridi emphasizes that AI ethicists need to have multidimensional expertise.
Okay.
They need to be well-versed in moral reasoning, skilled facilitators, adept researchers, and effective educators.
Wow, it's like being an ethical superhero.
Yeah.
You need all these different skills and superpowers to navigate the complexities of AI ethics.
Exactly. And the interesting thing is that Floridi's model aligns quite well with the Itamoni framework. Remember those 3 covenants we talked about? Yeah. Well, they actually map onto Floridi's 3 types of moral expertise.
Okay.
Academic, performative, and practical.
Hold on, let me make sure I understand this. You're saying that the 3 covenants of the Itamoni framework correspond to these 3 types of moral expertise described by Floridi.
That's right. Think about it.
Okay.
Academic moral expertise is all about having a deep understanding of ethical theories and principles.
Right.
This aligns perfectly with the Itamoni framework's ontological covenant, which emphasizes grounding ethical decision-making in divine principles.
So it's like having that strong philosophical foundation, an understanding of the why behind the ethical guidelines.
Exactly. And then there's performative moral expertise, which is all about demonstrating ethical integrity in your own actions and inspiring trust through empathy and consistency. This resonates with the Itamoni framework's emphasis on spiritual intentionality, or Nia.
Okay.
It's about walking the ethical talk.
It's not enough to just talk the talk. You have to walk the walk as well.
Exactly. And finally, there's practical moral expertise, which is about being able to apply ethical principles to real-world situations, navigate complex trade-offs, and make tough decisions. This aligns with the Itamoni framework's existential covenant, which emphasizes our role as stewards of creation, responsible for making ethical choices in the face of challenging dilemmas.
It's like being an ethical troubleshooter.
Yes.
Using your knowledge and skills to find the best possible solutions in messy, real-world situations.
Precisely. And both Floridi and the Itamoni framework highlight the importance of research and education for AI ethicists. They need to stay abreast of emerging ethical challenges, contribute to our understanding of those challenges, and educate others about the ethical implications of AI.
So it's about being at the forefront of the ethical conversation, constantly learning, adapting, and sharing that knowledge with others.
Exactly. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The paper suggests that the Itamoni framework can actually enhance Floridi's model by adding a spiritual dimension. Remember how we talked about information ethics being metaphysically neutral?
Yes.
Well, the Itamoni framework brings in the concept of divine trust, or amana, which adds a whole new layer of accountability and purpose to the role of AI ethicists.
It's like giving those ethical superheroes a spiritual compass, a deeper sense of purpose that guides their actions.
Exactly. And on the flip side, Floridi's competency framework, with its clear categories of skills and responsibilities, can help operationalize the Itamoni framework. It provides a practical roadmap for translating those abstract principles into concrete actions.
It's like taking that spiritual compass and using it to navigate a complex ethical terrain.
Precisely. The paper suggests that combining these approaches could create a powerful synergy. It could help ensure that AI technologies are developed with both procedural integrity and spiritual intentionality.
Okay, so we've explored the Itamoni framework, its practical applications, and even how it connects to the role of AI ethicists. But I'm wondering what the paper's overall message is. What are the key takeaways here?
Well, the paper starts by reminding us of the gaps it addresses in existing approaches to Islamic ethics and AI. It points out the limitations of frameworks like Maqasid al-Shariah and information ethics when it comes to addressing the unique challenges of AI.
Right. The Itamoni framework seems to offer a more comprehensive and nuanced way to approach the ethical challenges of AI.
Yes.
It brings together that strong foundation in Islamic ethics with a practical framework for applying those principles to the real world.
Exactly. And the paper concludes by emphasizing the potential of the Itamoni framework to bridge that gap between theory and practice. It offers a holistic, ethical vision that can guide AI development towards a more just, sustainable, and spiritually aligned future.
That's a powerful vision. But the paper also acknowledges the challenges of putting this vision into practice, right?
Yeah, it does. Integrating metaphysical principles into secular contexts is never easy, and achieving global consensus on ethically informed standards, especially ones rooted in religious traditions, can be a complex and ongoing process.
Right, because not everyone is going to agree on what's ethical, especially when you bring different cultural and religious perspectives into the mix.
Exactly, but the paper's message is ultimately one of hope and possibility. It's a call to action for all of us, AI developers, ethicists, policymakers, and even the general public, to engage in this conversation, grapple with these challenging questions,
right,
and work together to ensure that AI serves humanity's highest aspirations.
That's a powerful message. And speaking of engaging in the conversation, I think it's time to turn things over to you, our listeners. We've covered a lot of ground today, but this is just the beginning of the exploration. What are your takeaways from this deep dive into Islamic ethics and AI? What new questions are swirling in your mind about the intersection of faith and technology? Let us know. We've spent a lot of time talking about the Idamani framework, but I think it's important to remember that Islamic thought has so much more to offer when it comes to thinking about AI ethics.
Oh, absolutely. There's a wealth of ethical concepts and principles in Islamic tradition,
right,
that could provide valuable insights for AI development.
The paper even hints at this in its conclusion.
It does.
It mentions concepts like ihsan and adab.
Yeah.
Can you unpack those for us?
Well, ihsan is often translated as moral excellence,
okay,
or striving for perfection in one's actions.
Okay.
Imagine weaving that principle into the very fabric of AI design.
So it's not just about AI doing no harm.
Right.
It's about AI striving to do good.
Exactly. It's about developing AI systems that are not only safe and efficient, but also actively promote well-being and contribute to human flourishing.
What a cool idea. And what about adab?
Or adab is a multifaceted concept that encompasses proper conduct, etiquette, good manners, and even the rightful place of knowledge.
Okay.
It could guide us in developing AI systems that are respectful, humble, and operate within appropriate boundaries.
It's like teaching AI good manners.
Yeah.
Making sure it understands its place in the world and acts with humility and grace.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that AI is a powerful tool,
right,
that should be used wisely and ethically. And that means instilling in it a sense of respect for human values and the limits of its own knowledge.
I'm really struck by this idea of incorporating these deeper Islamic principles into AI development.
Yeah.
Feels like a whole new frontier of ethical exploration.
It definitely is. And the exciting thing is that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Islamic thought offers a treasure trove of ethical insights that could enrich and guide the development of AI in really profound ways.
So it's not just about applying a set of rules or guidelines. It's about creating AI that embodies these deeper values of compassion, humility, and a sense of responsibility.
You got it. And I think that's a really important message to take away from this deep dive. We need to move beyond a purely technical approach to AI and start thinking about the ethical and spiritual dimensions of these technologies.
It's like we're at a crossroads in the development of AI.
Yeah.
We can choose to create AI that reflects our highest aspirations,
right,
or AI that amplifies our shortcomings.
Exactly. And that's why conversations like this are so important. We need to be having these discussions now before it's too late. We need to be thinking about the kind of future we want to create with AI.
It feels like a huge responsibility, but also an incredible opportunity.
It is. And it's not just the responsibility of experts and policymakers.
Right. It's a conversation that needs to involve everyone.
So, deep divers, as you continue your exploration of Islamic ethics and AI, remember that you have a role to play in shaping this future. Keep asking those tough questions.
Yes.
Keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Right.
And let's work together to create an AI future that reflects our deepest values and aspirations.
I love it.
That's it for our deep dive into Islamic ethics and AI. We hope you've surfaced with some fresh insights and a whole new perspective on the possibilities and challenges of this rapidly evolving field.
Remember, this conversation is just beginning, so stay curious, keep exploring, and let's continue to dive deep into the ethical questions that will shape the future of AI.
Until next time, deep divers, stay curious.